The 4 ways of approaching life. I have come to see this from Scripture and just understand life this way. Might not be absolute, might not be even really reflective of reality, but I think it does help us to understand things. And I'm using it in our teachings to our youth, which are available through our chapters. And you'll know more about that as we go on. But right now, it's part of our curriculum to our youth. And I just want to tell you what the 4 ways are. The first way that you can approach life is you can let it destroy you. You can destroy you. And, you know, that typically comes when we cater to our flesh. And in one way or another, we buy into the commercialization of things, and we think that drinking beer with friends or hard alcohol at night on Saturdays is the way. We think that sex, drugs, and rock and roll is the way to do things. And a portion of us are going to be destroyed by that. You can let it destroy you by the way you treat yourself, by the way you eat and exercise and all the stuff science talks about. But bottom line, I'm worried about the spiritual destruction, and so life can destroy you. That's basic. Second way, also not really favorable, is if it doesn't destroy you, it will use you. You can let life use you. And what I mean by that is you just let yourself be moved by every wind of doctrine. You become a pawn for your government. You become a pawn for your religion. You let your employer use you, and you do everything you can for your career, and they just overlook you when you start to get old and bypass you for promotion. You're used by the system. And most people kind of live in all of these realms. We get used, and so we destroy ourselves. Really kind of bleak, but you know, when we look at kids being used by the system in manufacturing plants in third world countries, that's being used, right? They're not being destroyed. Yeah, the company's paying them, but they're being used. And most of us in corporate America are being used. And you can choose to live your life that way. Third way. It's a way that is still of this world, is still fleshly, but it has a little brighter application, and that is you can be valued. You can be valued. Sometimes you have to be used first to be valued later. And sometimes with being valued comes the need to destroy yourself a little. Remember, this is all still on this earth and in the flesh, but you can be destroyed, you can be used, or you can be valued. And valued comes through preparation. And you can dedicate your mind to learning, and you can dedicate your hands to understanding a trade. You can go to and get educated and be valued. You can be valued through fame and fortune. You can practice really hard at basketball and become world famous, and you'll be valued by the masses. They'll praise you. They'll love you. You know, our Hollywood stars seek to be valued by the world, and they are. Our rock stars, all of it. So, and again, there's some relational stuff with that. In order to be valued by the world, sometimes we destroy ourselves. It's kind of all intermixed, and sometimes you got to be used by social media in order to be valued. It's a mishmash, but just looking at it from a single dimension, I guess, it's just you can be destroyed, you can be used, you can be valued, right? And we all have the choice somewhere in there on how we're going to approach life. But the fourth way is the one that I'm interested in. It's what I think is vital. And that is you can approach life in letting it prepare you. Okay? This is the spiritual realm. This is when you enter in, and, you know, when you enter in this realm and you're being prepared for what? Prepared for something in the future. Is it certain? No. It's taken by faith. Why would you escape living in reality here in order to believe in a promise there? Well, because I trust in the promises that God made through his scripture. I think there's validity to them. I think there's reason and rationality to them. I think there's material evidence from them. And so I think there's something to the promises that there's a life after this. And so you can use this life to prepare yourself. I personally believe that this life, the reason human beings are on this world, is to be proven. To be proven on what you will love, what you will serve, what you will worship. I believe that's part of God's plan. And I think that he's taking care of everything to flush out that way. But for those who want to have a reason for life that's beyond the scope of being destroyed, being used, or being valued, I suggest you focus on being prepared. Prepared for what? Prepared for his kingdom. How? Yeah, here comes the hard part. By humbling yourself, and by learning of him, and by applying yourself to the things of the Spirit, not the things of the flesh. To not being valued for your insights, your way of living. To not being esteemed by anybody because you're giving them anything that they can use here. It really is, the preparation is one of, you're preparing yourself to die. You're preparing your flesh to not reign. You're preparing your heart and mind through the Spirit to enter into relationship with God. Everybody has these four choices constantly. You know, you can prepare yourself. You can be valued. And I'm not saying that you can't be valued in your career as a Christian who's trying to prepare themselves. Now, I'm not saying there's not a time to allow yourself to be used. Or sometimes there's even a time to be a little bit destroyed. A nice big fat burger or a nice healthy drink of vodka. That stuff is nice. We see Jesus was a drinker and an eater, right? They called him a wine bibber and a glutton. So there's a time for all of this. But what is the priority? Where are the eyes set? What do you hope to get from your time here on this earth? Are you wanting to focus on being destroyed, being used, being valued, or being prepared? I recommend the latter. Have a great week. Love you guys.